Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Larry Jacobs. This is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio on the 27th of April, last week of April, last few days, 2023. It's nice to have you with us today, or maybe on the archives. And you already know we archive everything at our home site of our American Consortium for Equity in Education. That's over at ace-ed.org, ace-ed.org. Okay, and you can go over there and you can read our magazine, our online journal. You'll see the cover. It's called Equity and Access Pre-K-12. It's a darn good magazine. You'll enjoy it. It's online. Just click through on the cover and you'll be able to read a darn good issue. The archives are there as well, plus everything else we do, including a place with a link for podcasting. Okay, every podcast we've ever done, like this one we're going to do today. Okay, we're going to go over to the Smithsonian Institute. Yes, we are. The Smithsonian's National Education Summit is coming up in July, and registration is going to open in early May for educators. And we have with us today the amazing Undersecretary for Education at the Smithsonian, one Monique Chisholm. Monique, are you there?
Yes. Good morning, Larry. How are you?
I'm fine, Monique. How are you today? Are you in Washington? Or I notice, I used to live there for many years, a Chicago phone number. Are you from Chicago?
I moved to D.C. from Chicago, but
Good.
yes, today I'm in the D.C. Capital Region area, and the weather's beautiful here today.
There you go. And I live up here in Maine now. I don't live in Chicago anymore, and it's beautiful up here as well. Okay, which means that you can actually get to work every day because you're in D.C. and you work at the Smithsonian, right?
That's right. Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, did you grow up in Chicago, or are you a D.C. lady?
I grew up in the Midwest. I was born in South Bend, Indiana.
Oh, wow.
Born in Indiana. Then we moved kind of all over the Midwest, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, and then I moved to D.C. about 10 years ago.
Good enough. And how long have you been Undersecretary for Education at the Smithsonian, Monique, which is a job? We've got a lot of listeners. About 90% of them right now are saying, God, I wish I had that job. Okay, how long have you been there? What a great job.
It'll be 2 years in June, and it is absolutely the most magical job in the world.
It is. It's a magical job. I have to tell you again, Monique is the Undersecretary for Education, okay, at the Smithsonian Institute, which, and I think everybody's heard of the Smithsonian, Joseph Smithson. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what's there. What do you do there as Undersecretary for Education? Well, what's your job?
That's a great question. So, I think, yes, most people are definitely familiar with the Smithsonian, and I think they might immediately think about our museums. And we have 21 museums. We have 2 new museums that are being built. We have 21 libraries.
What are the new ones? What are the new ones?
The 2 new museums, we will have a National Women's History Museum,
and
then also the National Museum of the American Latino, both of which are in existence. They just don't have physical buildings yet. So
wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Update. You heard it here, folks. Go ahead.
Yeah. We also have science centers, a marine biology center, an astrophysical center. So we have over 60 different facilities and units. And what I get to do as Undersecretary is I get to work with all of our museums and libraries and science centers to think about how we bring our resources to the nation. And that's through professional development, instructional resources, opportunities for the in-person experience. So everything from A to Z. How can we make sure that the content of the Smithsonian is reaching people from birth through our lifelong learners?
That is fantastic. And again, we're going to talk about your National Education Summit in a minute. Again, it's going to be in July, but registration is going to open soon. Give everybody an example, Monique, of what Smithsonian does for educators right now. And I know what everything you said, but give a couple of your favorite concrete examples, what you have for educators K-12, just so they can get into the swing of this.
Well, we literally have anything that you're kind of thinking of, from dragonflies to history of, Abraham Lincoln. But one of my favorite examples is we recently had a chance to work with the Nebraska Department of Education, and they wanted to focus in on their social studies standards. And so we worked with their pre-K through 3 teachers. We had about 12 teachers from the state that joined about 10 of our Smithsonian educators.
Wow.
And they co-created learning modules for their social studies standards that focused on their multicultural standards. So we were able to combine resources from our American Indian Museum, our Hirshhorn Art Museum, our African American History and Culture Museum into different lesson designs.
Wow. You mentioned something when you were describing that I know everybody's ears perked up like mine did. What is a Smithsonian educator? You said they linked up with your Smithsonian educators. Who are those people?
Smithsonian educators are probably some of the best individuals in the world. They are passionate. They're passionate educators. Some of them have been former classroom teachers or some other aspect of formal education setting. But they are the individuals who really help to translate all of the content. So if you think about an art exhibit or a museum gallery, they are the individuals who then say, how can this become a meaningful and engaging learning experience?
Wow.
And help to translate that, sometimes in the museums, but oftentimes through a digital platform or through professional development, but many different ways they connect with learners across the nation.
That is just great. And I have to ask you this, okay? Do educators fully take advantage? And this is a key question, because you're one of the great institutions that we have in this country, probably one of the great institutions in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And I know you have a ton of resources available to educators. All right. And my question is, are educators taking advantage of all the wonderful resources you offer as much as they can? And the reason I always ask that is because there are so many great resources out there, and yet we hear about under-resourced schools, okay? But I don't know if there's a cost to what you guys do, et cetera. But just talk about that side of it. How do we get educators really to understand all the great things you're offering them and get rid of these under-resourced schools, so to speak? I just want to do that before we talk about the summit. I think it's important what you guys do.
That is so important, Larry. Yes, you're right. So everything that we offer at the Smithsonian that I've mentioned is free. The Smithsonian is the nation's museum.
Yeah, it is. I knew that. That, but I didn't want to say it before I was guaranteed of it. I knew that. Yeah, go ahead, please.
But
it's
one
free.
of the things I think
free.
Right, it is free.
Free.
The reality that we also recognize is that teachers are really busy. So what we have been focusing on is how can we do a better job making sure that our resources are accessible and packaged in a way that makes it easy for teachers to use. And so we're committed to doing that. So I would say that the Smithsonian education resources might be the best in the world.
Yeah.
So, we're working really hard to make sure that there's more visibility, more use and understanding, but that it's relevant and that it helps teachers have the impact that they desire.
Yeah, and I know you're working hard, and I know that you're actually doing it. Your work is paying off. And I just always want to keep saying this is free, and there should be no such thing as an under-resourced school when you've got resources like this in this country, okay? And it's that simple, and Monique wants to work with you, all right? Her team wants to work with you at the Smithsonian. Or they just have to stay. Yeah, I mean, really, it's just that's the bottom line of all this. Now, let's get into the National Education Summit. Who do you want to come to that? Where is it? Is it virtual? That sort of thing. And I know it's in July. You're on, Monique. The National Education Summit from Smithsonian. And by the way, everybody, it's Smithsonian EDU. Smithsonian. Oh, no, that's the Twitter. I'm sorry. It is Smithsonian EDU. It's SIEDU. Help me, Monique. I'm mixed up on what the best website is.
Yep.
Thank you, SI.edu. Yep. I was giving the Twitter before. Tweet at Smithsonian EDU. The website is SI, Smithsonian Institute EDU.edu. SIEDU.edu. Go ahead.
Well, Larry, I'm
But
hoping that you will join us also, but we would love to invite all.
Actually, I'm thinking about it. As I was planning the show today, I'm thinking, because my wife and I love to get down to D.C., okay? I'm thinking this might be a good excuse. Honest to God, I was thinking about that this morning.
I would love for you to come and for us to be able to host you, yes.
Well,
I
thank
am
you.
really excited about the upcoming summit. This is our third year doing it, and it will occur July 18th, 19th, and 20th. We will do both in-person, an opportunity for in-person participation, but then also virtual so that people can join us from across the nation. And
Great.
The theme for this year's summit is Together We Thrive, cultivating a sense of belonging. And if it's okay, I just want to take a minute to talk about that theme because it's so important.
Take as much time as you want. We have plenty of time.
Okay. So the Together We Thrive is really driven from a body of research called the Science of Learning and Development. And for all of us educators, we've known this for centuries, that all students have the potential to thrive. But we're fortunate now that a group of researchers and scientists from all different fields have come together with this important question of, can all students really thrive? And scientifically, they have demonstrated and proved that yes, given the right circumstances, the right context, the right resources, the right relationships with adults, yes, all students can thrive. So the Together We Thrive really taps into the science of learning science of learning and development, and then fostering a sense of belonging. The last couple of months, just looking at everything that's going on across the education ecosystem, I know that we're all feeling like we need a sense of connection.
Yep.
And it's also highlighting the importance of making sure that students can see themselves reflected in the content of what they're learning about. So we will have 4 strands that kind of round out the summit. The first one is Life on a Sustainable Planet, which will dig deep into sustainability and the environment and science. We also have a strand on STEAM education. We have a strand that's called Reckoning with Our Racial Past. And then our final strand is on integrated arts education.
Let's go down each one of them. What is an integrated arts education? What are you looking to accomplish with that? Is that like going after a liberal arts degree? And I'll just say with that, colleges recently have been cutting out English classes. You know that, Monique. Okay, they've been cutting out liberal arts. The student today wants to go make money. You don't make money doing poetry on a street corner. Okay, that's the wrong way to look at education. Okay, that's not what colleges were designed for. All right, and so when you say an integrated arts education, are we talking about rebuilding that kind of thing? What do you mean? Good.
Well, it's absolutely grounded in that, but I think more what we're trying to emphasize is that there is an intersection of disciplines that we are really unique at. So at the Smithsonian, what our kind of superpower is that we have art, history, culture, and science. Yeah. And we can work at the intersections of those disciplines. So, for example, we can have a lesson that's developed around art and environment, or we could talk about space exploration and women's history, or perhaps talk about the evolving traditions of the American story through multiple perspectives. And so, integrated arts education really is that place of intersection where you can talk about things from a different perspective, but then also activate that creativity, the innovation, the inquiry that comes so nicely with arts inquiry. So
I like that. That's good. That's good. What about before we go on? Is your program at the Education Summit, is it geared for K-12 or do you want more high school teachers to come? How do you see it grade wise for educators for what they're teaching?
It's geared for it's geared for pre-K through 12. So we'll have learning. Yeah, early learning content, middle school content, high school content, and it'll all be identified. We have over 24 breakout sessions, 4 keynotes, and then for those who do attend in person, we have prepared a special behind-the-scenes experience so that the participants will be able to go to the National Zoo or our Hirshhorn Art Gallery, some of our museums, and go behind the scenes and work with Smithsonian educators to really think about the role that museums and cultural institutions can play in the classroom.
Oh, I love it. That's just great. Okay, and again, it's K-12. This is real important. Let's talk about the other. Just going backwards from where you said, reckoning with our racial past. Oh, hear that, Governor DeSantis? Reckoning with our racial past. Okay, you don't say anything, Monique. I say that. Okay, you just go on. Okay, reckoning with our racial past is one of the strands. Okay, go ahead. You're on. You didn't hear what I said, by the way. You didn't hear what I said a minute ago, but I couldn't resist.
Oh, well, I think that because
yes, they are.
You know, here at the Smithsonian, we have we just launched our new strategic plan, which is our shared future, and reckoning with our racial past is one of our initiatives under this strand. And really, for us, what this means is that we need to have conversations across the nation about race and racism and the historical significance of race and racism, and then think about what that means for our shared future. You know, Secretary Bunch always talks about how these are sometimes hard and difficult truths and stories, but they're important to talk about and to share. But we also have to do that in a way that helps us move forward and progress. And so that's what our goal is here.
That's right.
And
that's right.
We're really excited because we will be launching several videos that have been created, short videos. We'll be premiering those at the summit and then working with educators to think about how can you use these in the classroom to have, you know, engaged dialogue and discussion.
That's right.
And, so we're really excited to
I'm
to
excited
have that
about that too, and it's so key. I'm an old history teacher, emphasis on both old and history. Okay, and you know, this is so darn important. And I always like to say this, and I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but, you know, in Germany, nobody knew, at the schools, nobody taught about the Holocaust for about 10 years after the World War II. It was hidden, okay, in German education. They were embarrassed about it. They were ashamed about it, okay? It came out because a lot of prosecutors in Frankfurt brought it forward, okay? And now it's part and parcel of what Germany does. You have to handle the past. And the people who are learning it now aren't guilty of the past. They weren't even born, okay? But they have to know about it. You can't be an ostrich and put your head in the sand, okay? The lion sees the rest of you. The meat is up top. Your head is the only thing that's left when the lion is done if you do that, okay? And it you know, I could go on and on and on with the analogies, but I'll give you a good one, okay? God forbid anybody has cancer. They know how lousy chemotherapy is, okay? But you have to face it and do it, and then you get better, we hope, okay? And that's exactly, you can't just pretend it's not there, okay? And I can go, you want me to go on and on? I can go on and on and on about this, okay? It's just unbelievable. And having this and using the Smithsonian's resources as a means to start engaging conversation. That's not meant to hurt anybody. It's meant to help, okay, is really an important thing. How was that for a speech? Was that good, Monique?
I think you need to come along with me, Larry, and we can share that together. So
happy
that was
to
really
do
good.
it. I mean, it's just nuts. You know, and I have a question for you, the next one, STEAM education. STEAM education, that A in STEM is for arts, okay? Yes. And then we talked about the other one was an integrated arts education. What's the difference between those two things? You have two strands, but they seem similar to me. What are you going to do with STEAM education that's different from an integrated arts education?
With our STEAM focus, we are taking this opportunity to really think through what our team is calling the convergence thinking, and really looking at science, technology, engineering, and math, and what that means in terms of the profession and the workforce, but then also what does it mean with the inclusion of art and design. We'll have Jake Bolton, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with him or not, very influential in the space of air and space and background, and he's actually going to talk with us about themed education. He's adding a D. So I think part of this is really...
What's the D? What's the D for? Themed education.
The D is design. Design.
Thank you. Design. Thank you.
Yeah. I think part of it is the acronym alphabet war. We're going to kind of dig into what that really means. But the focus for this team will really zero in on the science, technology, engineering, and then the inclusion of art in that. Whereas integrated arts will be more focused on things that are traditionally thought of as, humanities and social studies and civics and that.
It's good stuff. I love it. And then the last strand, which I think we all know this, that we've got exactly one planet. Okay, one planet, exactly. If we don't make it sustainable, we're not here anymore. All right? Talk about your strand. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Okay, if it's not sustainable, we're not here. All right? So talk about the life on a sustainable planet, which, again, integrates, if I may use that word, with the STEAM education. Let's talk about what you're going to do with the life on a sustainable planet. Go ahead.
This is so also under our Shared Future umbrella, one of our key initiatives is Life on a Sustainable Planet. And it's just like you said, Larry, we have one planet, we have to take care of it. And, educators, probably one of our best advocates in this space. This strand will really focus on activating students to have attitudes towards sustainability and mindsets towards sustainability. We have we have the Smithsonian Tropical Research Center. We have our Conservation Biological Institute. We have our National Zoo. All different ways in which we're thinking about sustainability and conservation. And so individuals who participate in these sessions will have really, really great examples of things they can do in the classroom that help to emphasize a sustainability mindset for students.
It's so important. And, the kids are really interested in this. This is their future. Okay? Yes. And they get it. If we don't, they do. At least most of them do. And we just got to make sure that we keep them engaged on this subject. And that's the key thing of all this. Now, the most important thing, it's a National Education Summit from the Smithsonian. It's July 18th to the 20th in Washington, D.C. Registration will open in early May. So all of this must have a tremendous cost to the individual who decides to visit either virtually or in person. What is the tremendous cost for each individual to attend? Monique?
It is free. The summit is free. Yes,
free.
The summit is free. For those who are traveling to D.C., they would have to cover their own transportation and hotel expenses, but those participating virtually, there's no cost. Sessions, the behind the scenes, all of the nice receptions, it's all free to all the participants.
Wow. And actually, where will it actually be? What's the physical space? Is it inside the museum or what is it?
This is exciting. We are going to get to juxtapose two historical landmarks. So we are reopening the Historic Arts and Industry Building. It's the first building of the Smithsonian campus. So it's closed right now. We're reopening it for the summit.
Are you talking about the famous red brick building? The brown brick?
Famous red, yes, the famous
the
red
one
brick.
I picture when I picture the Smithsonian?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Wow.
I
didn't know that was closed. That's gorgeous. Wow.
Yeah, it's been closed since last summer. We have the features exhibit there, but it's been closed since last summer. It's a beautiful building. It's amazing. And then we will also, just right across the path is the Hirshhorn Sculpture Garden and Museum, and we will be utilizing that space also. Wow,
it's going to be just beautiful. And this is going to be a dumb question, but just so people understand, you said before that there's going to be, I'll say food. Is there going to be dinners or anything like that? Any events that go along with it?
The first night we are doing...
what's on my mind? Food. Yeah, you know what I mean.
It's very important. It's very important. Yeah. The first night we are hosting a networking reception. And our very own Secretary Lonnie G. Bunch will be joining us. And
who will? Say that again.
Secretary Bunch. So Secretary Lonnie G. Bunch will join us for the reception. For those who may not know, Secretary Bunch is the founding director of the African American History and Culture Museum. And he's now been serving as the secretary at the Smithsonian for about 4 years and has an amazing vision for education and how the Smithsonian can be a change agent in this space. So if you've never met him, it's worth taking the time because he is such a dynamic individual.
I'll bet. And he runs the Smithsonian. He's the guy. He's the man.
He's the man.
Yep. If you're secretary, you're an undersecretary. No offense, you're an undersecretary. Okay, and he is the secretary. He's the big guy, right? He's the big
guy.
Okay.
Yes, he's the big guy.
Kahuna. That's pretty cool. He's going to be there. Is he any relation to Ralph Bunche?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I've seen his name, and I think it's spelled the same way. I wonder if there's a relationship there. I don't know. Wow. That's pretty cool. Who else is going to be speaking? You mentioned a couple of people. Who else is going to be speaking? Or is that it?
Yeah. Our keynotes, we're really excited that we just found out that the newly named 2023 National Teacher of the Year, Rebecca Peterson from Oklahoma, will be joining us as a keynote speaker.
Great.
And then also Malik Pancholi, who is an actor and author. People might know him from 30 Rock. He has a very sound platform around anti-bullying and activism.
Good.
Yeah, and so he will also join us. And then I'm also really excited that Dr. Pamela Cantor will join. She's one of the leading researchers on the science of learning and development.
Oh, good.
And then we will also have a student panel that anchors that conversation where students are helping us understand their learning journeys and their identity as a learner and what we can do to help, to support learners. And then we will close.
And I know everybody knows this. That's a key thing because, and I always use this analogy, you look at any retailer, take Walmart. They want to know what the customers are thinking. If the customers aren't happy, they're going to make a change that makes the customer happy. All right? And education along the way somehow forgot that until recently. Okay?
Right.
And we call it student voice. But if we want kids to be engaged, we got to listen to the consumer, and they're the consumers. Okay, so I'm glad you're doing that. What's fun?
Absolutely. And then we're going to close this summit with a wonderful story. Finder Play Foundation partnered with the LA Unified School District during the pandemic to provide free instruments to all of the students, and then free lessons. And so we'll be joined by Ed McGee from the Finder Foundation, who will talk us through, what they did and how maybe other areas can model that with a public-private partnership.
Wow. This is, and again, I want to say this, it's all free. By the way, I have it linked here on site. Okay, you can just go over there. All right. But it's again, si.edu, but it's all free. It's all free. And I want to say this, as great as it'll be to be in Washington for all this. All right. You can attend virtually. Okay. And just bring your own glass of white wine if you want to go to the networking thing. Just sit there and drink white wine. Okay. And, cut yourself a nice piece of cheese and we'll be in good shape. All right. But this is key stuff. And I want to make this point too. It's summertime when this is going to happen. You're off. Okay, and I know you want to erase your mind. This is a great way to get started because in our southern and western states, school's going to start around in August. This is on July 18th to the 20th. Okay, so it's a great time to go. You're clear, and it's free. Free, right, Monique?
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Thank you. It's absolutely free. And registration will be opening soon, but for now, we do have information at that si.edu site. And if you want, you can sign up to have us send you information also, but registration will open here very shortly. That's
very important, and I may take you up on your invitation. By the way, I'll be talking to the boss, i.e. my wife. Okay, and
great.
We'll see if we can do it. It's so great to get to Washington D.C. It's so much fun there, and B, okay, to be part of all this. It's just super. So, Monique, this is just a great conversation. Thank you so much. You're a busy lady. I appreciate you being here.
Well, Larry, thank you for all that you're doing also and the important, voice you're bringing to issues around equity. It's so important. So thank you for the work you're doing also.
Well, you're welcome. Believe me, it's our pleasure to do it here. And I want you to know you are always welcome here. Anytime you guys have a new program or something you want to talk about, don't hesitate to get in touch. Please. That's
Thank you.
Sincere invitation. Okay, so Thank you, Monique. You're incredible. You have an incredible job. There's going to be 40,000 resumes at your door this afternoon because everybody loves what you guys do. Okay, it's just great stuff. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you. Great.
Wonderful. Take care.
Bye-bye.
The incredible Monique Chisholm, who is the Undersecretary for Education. Is that cool or what? At the Smithsonian Institute. And it's si.edu. It's linked here. And they tweet at Smithsonian EDU. Okay, great stuff. And again, July 18th to the 20th, free for educators. Take advantage. Okay, there's no such thing as an under-resourced school when you have this kind of thing as a resource. I'll say that a million times. We're going to archive the show over at ace-ed.org. That's our home website for our Consortium for Equity. Go over, take a look, see what we do. Enjoy yourself. I'm Larry Jacobs, Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio.